Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa. Our third briefing today is dedicated to development of winemaking in the Odesa region and to the possible forecast. Our speaker is Alla Stoyanova, Director of the Odesa Regional Agriculture Department. The floor is yours. Good afternoon. Ukrainian winemaking traditions are as old as the world, and the history of our winemaking is at least 4.5 thousand years old. It's no wonder that our ancestors developed winemaking in old times. When it's the winemaking culture, there is also the culture of wine and wine consumption. When, of course, and actually there's no wonder whereas in Moscow, they ran with sticks to catch wild boar for dinner, while our ancestors drank wine in white houses. The modern area of Ukrainian vineyards is 4,000 times larger than that of Sweden and only 7 times smaller than that of France. In 2020, the decree of the President of Ukraine introduced a state holiday, the Day of Viticulture and Winemaking. Odesa region has powerful development opportunities for viticulture, winemaking, and wine tourism. Famous wine events were held on the territory of the region before the war: Festival of Amateur Wine, Living Wine of Ukraine, Bessarabian Wine Festival, Young Wine Festival, Regional Festival of Masters of Traditional Home Winemaking, Belgrade Wine Fest, and Wine Fest, the project of the European Union Wine and Taste Roads of Ukrainian Bessarabia, which provides for the demonstration and popularization of enogastronomic tourist and recreational routes was launched. But 2022-2023 is when that history became our past, and we do not know what to expect from future. The problems of the sector and military realities are as follows: a reduction of vineyards areas, low purchase prices for grapes of commercial varieties, high tax burden on the viticulture industry, decrease in export volumes of domestic wine products, low level of motivation to create new vineyards, the difficulty for employing seasonal workers to carry out technological operations in the vineyards. There is absence of a register of grain and wine producers and a cadastre of vineyards. There was lack of systematic control over the quality and safety of wine production. Winemakers and winegrowers found themselves in difficult conditions, especially in the difficult times of March-April 2022, when the sale and production of alcoholic beverages was suspended. But in order to start the economy of the region, our department initiated a separate order on the permission to sell wine. In 2 years, 17 meetings of the wine-growing industry were held in the region, including with the participation of the Minister of Agrarian Policy and Food of Ukraine, and with the involvement of MPs of the Parliament of Ukraine. There were missions to the territory of the region to develop the winemaking legislation that has not been updated for the last decade. Following the initiative of our department, scientists of the National Center for Viticulture and Winemaking, named after Tairov, developed a register of vineyards with the definition of the border of grape enterprises of the region. That event became the basics for launching the process at the state level. Recently, more than 5 million hryvnias have been allocated to support the industry from the regional budget. Thanks to these funds, the cadastre of vineyards was created and maintained in our region. We continue work on creation regional system of geographical indications in the region, and a network of controlled appellations of territories is being worked out, which will contribute to the promotion of our wines on the European and world wine markets in the near future. The viticulture and wine making ensures local budgets and provides jobs to local population. Today, in the Odesa region, we have 23,000 hectares, or 70% of the total number of vineyards of the state. About 260,000 tons of grapes are grown there. 200 agricultural enterprises of the region are engaged in viticulture and 49 wineries. More than 7,000 workers are work in this area, and this number doubles every during the hot season. The largest number of vineyards are in the Volga district, where 78,000 tons of grapes are grown. And our region is the leader in the state, and Odesa is the winemaking landmark of Ukraine. Despite a difficult military situation, Ukrainian winemaking develops rather quickly. The 9th August this year was the day that opening the second wind for this industry, because thanks to the support of most MPs, Draft Law 9030 was voted for in the second reading, and Draft Law 9139 in the first reading. Finally, the sector got a chance not only to survive but also to develop, both in the country and around the world. Finally, small-sized wine producers received the simplified system of accounting and permit documents, the opportunity to purchase Ukrainian grapes, the opportunity to work with the metal packaging, and much more. Finally, wine growing enterprises got access to grapes for the production of their products, etc. As for the state support, wine growers, wine producers got access to cheap loans under 579 program and to any state support, including grants. And we're moving from raw material to the value-added products. But wine producers, wine processors cannot use this opportunity if they produce alcoholic beverages. But Draft Law 9030 provides for possibility to get state support and also access to money. Draft Law 9139 on grapes and viticulture products, the main purpose of which is to align the norms of industrial legislation with the requirements of international rules for the production of viticulture and winemaking products, and the implementation of the provisions of the EU regulations. So the main norms envisaged the alignment of our norms and acts with the regulations of the EU. There are specific requirements to our country as a candidate state to assess the EU. And we are introducing these requirements. Agrarians also got the mechanisms of geographical protection, which is very important for our winemakings and wine growers. They have been developed the registers, and thanks to this legislative acts, we believe that this register will cover the whole of Ukraine. The grape of wine is a biblical symbol of spirituality, a symbol of prosperity and life. Good wine is it is also a part of the coat of arms of Odesa region, and this ensures the success of the Odesa region. We cannot stop the processes that have already started. We cannot stop time. And we believe in our armed forces of Ukraine. We also believe that nothing will be in vain, and we will be victorious. And we will celebrate the result, our victory, with the glass of wine produced of our Odesa black grape. There will be some taste of war, but also there will be the taste of victory. As far as I understand, you have a question.
Please use the mic on the next chair for your question to be in our live stream on YouTube and Facebook. Turn it on, please, and stand with your question.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon. I'm interested in knowing, basically, obviously, the main concern internationally. I represent an American newspaper. Is is whether Ukrainian grains can continue to access world markets with the Russian blockade of the Black Sea and moves to try to blockade the Danube as well. Could you explain to me what measures are being taken to assure the access of Ukrainian agricultural products, mainly grains, to international markets?
Так,
Thank you very much for your question. This is a very important part of our work nowadays, because our task is not only to grow grain, not only to preserve it, but also to ensure its access to international markets for other countries who are in need in our products can get it. The state has been implementing a range of measures to ensure this. For example, the state has introduced insurance, 20 billion hryvnias for this year, as insurance for those vessels who are ready to work in our area to continue taking Ukrainian grains and bringing them to countries in need. Because now we have powerful countries who can buy grain, they have money, but there are other states with a weak economy, and they cannot even allow themselves to buy this grain. And there is the program of the presidents of Ukraine, Grain from Ukraine, and Ukraine, together with other countries, support such countries in need, like Asian and African countries, for them to be able to get our Ukrainian wheat. And we also have alternative routes, apart from big ports of Odesa, in Odesa and in Chornomorsk. And now we have alternative routes, alternative channels. We can see that they are not fully safe because enemy's missiles try to hit every point or expert channel, not only in the Black Sea, but also in the Danube River, and also the railway connection and the ferry connection. To widen our expert channels, Ukraine has adopted and has been implementing norms to expand and to strengthen infrastructure that allows to transship more grain than it was during peaceful times.
Is it possible, you think, for to use Black Sea routes? Is the port of Odessa totally blockaded? I mean, are any ships going out of there at all to other foreign ports?
I can answer the following. We cannot discuss the routes, the channels now, because this is the issue of our safety and security, but I can assure you that we are developing measures to make export possible for other countries to receive our grain. What routes, what channels will we offer? We cannot share this because this is sensitive information.
Дякую за
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Thank you for being with us today. And just that you compared Ukraine with Sweden with the amount of wineries, because I've never heard that they have wine producers in Sweden. Sweden now is a wine-producing country. They also have the consumption culture, the development programs, and there is a range of countries which are not considered as winemaking countries like Canada, but now they have around 900 small craft wine enterprises producing wine and growing grapes. And I've mentioned two draft laws and what they can offer us. For example, in France, in Netherlands, the number of farmers, for producing of craft wine, is 10,000, 48,000, 20,000, 27,000, 16,000. In Ukraine, when we started developing those laws, we had only 26 producers, and as for the vineyards, we have more of them comparing to other countries. We did not have efficient legislation that could stimulate our wine growers and wine producers, and so that's why we have now the decrease in production. But the mentioned laws will ensure a new boost for the development, and in this year we have additional opportunity to provide grants from the state budget. And there was the norm that prohibited wine growers and winemakers to use the state budget because they had equal rights and possibilities as other producers of alcoholic beverages, but the situation will be different. We have a question from a journalist watching us online. You've mentioned the register. Is it only for Odesa region now or not? The full register is now operative in the Odesa region. We started developing it several years ago, and now it has been finalized. And as for the level of the whole Ukraine, we've got a new norm, and that will be a legislative act that will be the basis of creating a register for the whole country. And the last questions from me. Do you have information about the extent of damages by the war, by shelling in the Odesa region? Maybe it will be not about the Odesa region, but I'm sure that in Kherson and Mykolaiv Oblast there were some facilities damaged. Do you have any information about those regions? This is also sensitive information. We're asked not to share details about producers, but generally we have 7% of losses in viticulture and winemaking in the south of Ukraine. And fortunately, in the Odesa region, the situation is stable, 70% for the south of Ukraine. Thank you for the information. That was the briefing of Alla Stoyanova.
Grain exports or production have been affected by the Russian military offensive, by Russian shelling, by the missiles, by the attacks on the silos, and production infrastructure capacity.
Mm-hmm.
The annual production is from 60 to 80 million tons of grain. Ukraine produces around 68 million tons grain per year. And in the driest year, we had less than 60 million. That was 2022. And we had records number in 2022, 2021, 107 million grains. So we consume 17 million tons annually. That's why, as a result of shelling, as a result of the Russian aggression, more than 20% of agrarian sector was damaged. Do you speak about the south of Ukraine and generally in Ukraine? No, generally in Ukraine. More than 20% of lands in Ukraine have been damaged as the result of the Russian aggression. If we assess those losses, we try to assess, we do not have the final numbers because the consequences of the Kakhovka tragedy is assessed at the level of $55 million, according to the results of the Ministry of Environment. And it's about the grain damaged in elevators and silos. We have some enterprises whose losses are at the level of 80% of the whole production capacity. They are fully damaged enterprises in Mykolaiv and Kherson regions. In Odesa, in Volgograd Rayon, we have enterprises with more than 3,000 hectares of land, but Russia's missiles destroyed more than 70% of production capacity. When it comes to precisely grain numbers, we're still assessing the situation, but it is more than several million tons of grain. So, and we still have some food to eat. Everything's fine with food safety in Ukraine because we produce more than we consume. But for those countries who are in need of this grain that was destroyed on the territory of Ukraine, this is the question of food safety. And Russia's aggression against Ukraine is also aggression against those countries who cannot get Ukrainian grain.
It's said that actually Ukrainian grain does not go to the more impoverished countries, that it's actually mainly going to European markets. And so therefore that it does not endanger it does not affect Africa and some of the the poorer countries. Is this true?
This is manipulation because today in Ukraine works not only at expert the part of the international trade, but it is also the part of the program of the president of Ukraine, which is called Grain from Ukraine. And this program provides make it possible to supply our Ukrainian wheat to Asian and African countries who are in need in this product, and these countries get this grain free of charge. Thank you.
Як називається ця програма?
The program is called Grain from Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your answers. That was the last briefing in the Media Center, Ukraine, Odessa today. Please stay tuned.